Good evening. Video number 386, Internal Migration and Urbanization. In this video, I am going to compare and explain the pull and the push factors causing internal migration in the world and specifically in Pakistan. Migration and urbanization have been significant features of the evolution of the human society. These are more often responses to climate change, population growth, the exigencies of nomadic way of life, tribal conflict, famines, and wars. This lecture is devoted to examining what is known as internal migration, specifically migration within countries from rural to urban areas and its relationship to urbanization and economic growth. Rural-urban migration is believed to be the most extensive form of migration, and because the transfer of population from rural to urban areas is thought to have the greatest potential for generating development related benefits and costs. There are certain causes of rural urban migration. The causes of rural urban migration are typically divided into pull and push factors, which are felt directly by the migrants. We start with pull factors. Economic considerations are usually held responsible to dominate to motivation of rural migrants pulled into urban areas. J.K. Galbraith, in his 1997 paper, saw migration as the oldest action against poverty. So, according to Galbraith, migration is a way out of poverty. It can be used as a remedy for poverty. Galbraith's view is consistent with both Lewis and Torero's assessment of the reasons for migration, which placed particular stress on pull factors, the higher wage rates available in the towns than in the countryside. Migration is now seen as being a way of managing risk by diversifying the sources of household income. There are many examples that suggest that on average living standards are higher in towns and cities than in rural countryside. Some examples of pull factors include the following. In nearly all countries, electricity access is higher in urban areas than in rural countryside. Access to improved sanitation is higher in urban areas as compared to rural areas. Access to improved drinking water is higher in urban areas as compared to villages. Access to clean fuels for cooking and heating is higher in urban areas. Similarly, child malnutrition is lower in urban settings. So these may be some of the pull factors that drive migrants from rural to urban areas. In addition to some economic pull factors, there are some non-pecuniary attractions in the urban areas. While pull factors are probably crucial in many decisions to migrate to urban areas, they are very unlikely to be the only considerations to migrate. We may add a number of potentially significant non-pecuniary attractions. In particular, migration provides improved access to range of public services available in cities and towns, notable education and health facilities. Furthermore, it offers attraction of many social amenities, including the glamour of the bright lights of the city life. Similarly, the probability that the pull of a town will give rise to migration from a village is inversely related to the distance between the two. Proximity encourages migration because short distance moves are less expensive than long range ones, and because information flows are increasingly attenuated with distance. By the same token, improvements in the national transportation network and our declining transportation costs are likely to encourage migration to towns. And a notable example in Pakistan include BRTs and overhead lines, which are the best examples of improvement in national transportation networks or declining transportation costs. While the pull factors are important causes of migration, push factors also constitute major causes of rural-urban migration. Push factors include financial pressures may push migrants of the rural areas towards the urban areas, and these may include rural poverty caused by rural unemployment and disguised unemployment in the countryside. Employment opportunities are expanding slowly or dwindling in rural areas, which often drive rural populations into the towns. Depletion and degradation of the rural environment because of the poor farming practices and climate change may also lead to reduction in its carrying capacity and in extreme cases crop failures and famine. This again contributes to the growing rural poverty, and that poverty causes migrants from rural areas to urban areas. So in view of these threats, rural families may encourage members to migrate to towns in order to earn income for their families. At the same time, it is the case that many other push factors are not directly financial, but they may also be the reason for push factors, and these include increasing landlessness due perhaps to consolidation of farms designed to facilitate mechanization of cultivation and harvesting of crops, or to the inheritance practices which rule out subdivision of farm acreage amongst farmers' children. Then lack of non-employment opportunities because of the slow pace of diversification from agriculture. Thirdly, improving education levels in the countryside. This may create skills, that is human capital, specific to the individuals which cannot be fully exploited and will not be adequately rewarded in rural employment. Escape from the exploitation and social mobility which often affect members of the underclass in the countryside. Escape from stultifying lack of variety and lack of opportunity for self-advancement and typical of village life. Warfare and various forms of civil unrest. These can play an important part in prompting internal migration, some of which will certainly be towards towns. Here in this graph, you can see the rural population of Pakistan in millions and the urban population of Pakistan in millions, and the dotted line shows the percentage of urban population out of the total population. So it is expected that by the 2030, the 50% of the Pakistani population will be living in urban areas, that is cities and towns. This graph shows the decline share of rural population in the total population of Pakistan. One can see that in the year 2010, the percentage of rural population out of total population was about 65%, and during 2022, it is a little higher than 62.5, but soon by year 2030, the rural population and the urban population will be almost 50% of the total population. So they will be equal. 50% will be living in urban areas, 50% will be living in rural areas. Let me also conclude about urbanization in Pakistan. If we compare the process of urbanization of Pakistan with the other South Asian countries, then the data indicates that Pakistan has the highest rate of urbanization among the South Asian countries. The UN Population Division estimates that by 2030, nearly half of the country's population will be living in the urban centers, that is, cities and towns. Urbanization is generally considered to be closely related to economic growth, particularly in developed countries, including Pakistan, where they have often occurred in tandem. Globally, it is estimated that cities generate more than 80% of the global GDP. The more urbanized areas indicate higher per capita income and more employment opportunities. Urbanization has positive impacts on technological innovation and economic progress, as well as economic growth and development. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, kindly subscribe to the channel and do not forget to click on bell icon so that you can get information about other videos that will be uploaded soon for you. Thanks for watching this.